Hello, hey, I'm Ron with Ideal Industries. In this video, I'd like to talk about the Ideal SIGNALTEK 2 tester here, and specifically its ability to test IT networks. You know, IT professionals have always had to manage a pretty powerful mix of infrastructure components that we're going to use to actually support all these applications you're going to run on this network, such as voice over IP phones, IP cameras, and really anything else they can throw at you. And part of that infrastructure, obviously, is the cabling itself. We need to make sure it supports, say, Gigabit Ethernet. Now, at the end of these wires, we need to make sure there's enough power to power our power over Ethernet or power over Ethernet plus device. We might want to also check the IP version 4 or IP version 6 IP connections. And then lastly, you might want to check to make sure your high-capacity network equipment can actually support all these applications you're going to run on this network, which is kind of critical. And business systems have to stay running 24 hours a day pretty much. Now, the SIGNALTEK 2 tester will test and troubleshoot all these critical infrastructure components and functions for you to make sure that network stays actually up and running. Now, I'll refer you to the first video on SIGNALTEK on how to test cable with it for that first bullet there. But on those last three bullets, let's move over to the shop, and I'll actually show you how to use the SIGNALTEK 2 tester to test IT networks. Here's a close-up of the SIGNALTEK 2 tester. You know, power over Ethernet is now really kind of commonplace, and testing and troubleshooting it sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge. Now, the SIGNALTEK 2 can help you out in actually a couple different ways. First, on the home screen, you'll know if PoE is even available because it shows it to you right there on the screen. Now, additionally, you can test that PoE source to determine how much power is actually available, which is kind of critical in making sure that this PoE device is actually going to work. Now, I'll run a load test, and you can see that the PoE injector I'm connected to actually shows me what pairs PoE is available on, and the voltage level, the current in milliamps, and how many watts are available. Now, I can test at the end of a long cable to make sure enough power is getting to my PoE device that I need to power. Having 24/7 network availability and IP connectivity is critical for today's business applications. Now, the SIGNALTEK 2 allows me to make sure my network is properly configured to support my current and planned devices and applications. Now, the ping and traceroute capabilities built into the tester will help me make sure I can reach those critical network services and that my optimal network path is actually being followed. Now, I've plugged my SIGNALTEK 2 into the network at this camera location, and I can actually perform a trace route to a critical internet resource. Now, it also allows me to test those connections using both IP version 4 and IP version 6. Now, new devices such as voice over IP phones really require a lot of network bandwidth, and you know, some networks just aren't prepared to support them. SIGNALTEK 2 allows me to pre-qualify my network and see if it actually has enough capacity to support these IP devices I plan on deploying. Now, I can actually configure a profile by selecting the number and type of devices I want to deploy, and then actually run that amount of bandwidth between 2 points on a network to actually see if all the data gets through and actually see how much of it doesn't. This is going to help me know if I need to make any changes to my system before I actually start deploying these IP devices. The SIGNALTEK 2 tester will also track and organize your test data by job and test location, and those results are easily downloaded, viewed, and printed via a web browser. Now, those reports provide a basic pass-fail summary, as well as an individual test result per cable. And I can actually use those reports for as-built documentation as I'm installing this system, and for a reference for troubleshooting events somewhere down the road. Now, in summary, the SIGNALTEK 2 allows me to test and troubleshoot the critical infrastructure components needed to support this high bandwidth installation. And that's including the cabling itself, make sure it supports, say, Gigabit Ethernet. We also want to make sure we have consistent power for our power over Ethernet devices. And we'd like to be able to reliably look at those IP version 4 and IP version 6 connections. And then lastly, actually check to make sure our high-capacity network equipment can actually support this system we like to install. Now, I encourage you to use the SIGNALTEK 2 tester on your next installation, and I think you'll confidently test and troubleshoot your critical network infrastructure.